Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Are You Screening podcast. I'm your host, AreYouScreening.com's own Mark Eastman. And with me, as always, is co-host extraordinaire Shane Leonard.
Hello.
And this week, so we're coming off of doing our kind of quick wrap-up episode that we did for, awards season. But really what we did is just cover all of the Critics' Choice nominations for Best Picture, which, as we said in the show, covers all the movies anyone's going to talk about, and almost all of the nominations for everything else. So if you haven't caught that show, go check it out. And I do want to just throw out, if you've been listening to us for a long time, and you're listening to us on, true podcast version.
Yeah.
You can also check us out on YouTube and see us for no reason whatsoever.
I was just going to say, for the old school people who listen to us on podcasts, dip their foot into seeing us and then go back to the podcasts. That's like that old joke, like you got a face for radio, like I don't blame you guys, but yeah.
But also just anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. Wherever you're listening to this now, you can listen to us anywhere else and see us on YouTube and check us out there. And so this week we're going to mainly talk about one of the movies that we talked about in that rundown and give it a bit better representation because we haven't done that movie specifically.
Before we do that, not that we need any fodder or anything coming in. Robert Duvall just died.
Yeah.
Is there anything worth? I mean, that seems weird. There's a million things worth saying. That guy was a stud and was just his own man during a time when you needed to be your own man, but also in a time when there was some capitulation for Hollywood studio heads. Right. And Bobby wasn't doing any of that. And if you wanted his services, you paid for it and you got it. And if you didn't, he was cool with it. Like he's such a hard guy.
He's one.
I love that guy.
He's one of those people that is.
And that just recently happened, so I just didn't know if it was.
Has made him over the years one of my favorite actors, but also just like one of the hardest actors to ever talk about, whether it's now or before. Yeah. Because he's in everything. Yeah. But somehow he just never was like the guy. Yeah. He just was always the guy who was in everything. Yeah. And he wasn't quite, to the furthest edge of like character actor where no one even remembers his name, but he's in everything or, that kind of thing. But he was always in everything. He was always really good. Yeah. And he got to a certain extent, like you would say, like the attention he deserves. I mean, he got the accolades and everything. Yeah. But he never was that guy where it was like, oh yeah, that movie and maybe at one point a long time ago he was.
They'd point to him in The Godfather.
Biggest movies were were right then. Yeah. I think the coolest thing about him was he never seemed to care.
He didn't care.
he just was like, whatever, I'm doing this. And
the way people...
he's so good. A lot of the things that he was really, really great in are a lot of the things that I always call out when we're talking about like best acting. Yeah. Because a lot of the things that he was great at just don't seem that hard to the average viewer or whatever. Right. But they are actually really hard to do well. And he did them great. And he would often be like that character where it just doesn't seem like he's doing anything that's that hard to do acting, but no one else.
No one's doing it.
But no one else would be able to pull it off. And he was really great.
One of the things I liked about Robert Duvall was how others talked about Robert Duvall that worked with him, and they all loved him, revered him. He wasn't like a guy who like screamed and had tantrums. He was a professional. He just was someone that people loved to work with because he did good work, but he was a guy of character. And if anybody wants to just see easy clips and snippets. YouTube is full of them. One that always comes to mind that pops up in my feed is there's a film. God, I'm blanking on the name of it. It always happens when we're talking about it. He's with Michael Caine and Haley Joel Osment, and they're in like a, God, I want to say like an Australian, but it might be, it's just a foreign land. They're in a pub.
Oh
and,
yeah,
and the kids come up. The kids come up and give him crap.
Yeah,
and Michael
yeah,
Caine
yeah.
just leans over and he goes, "Just don't kill any of them." And he goes, "I won't." And then he just he lays into this speech that's like 25 seconds about who he is, who he's been.
Right.
And it's amazing how he just runs through all of these things in his life while beating the crap out of these teens,
Right.
these young men. And I just look at that and I'm like, I don't know that wasn't in the film. That might have just been craft services, you know. But anyway, it's weird as we get older, so do other people. And I don't know that I was thinking Robert Duvall was going to die, but of course he had to. People we watched when we were growing up, they're getting older too. But
Right.
when I saw the news for that, I just thought, oh man. And it's not like one of those things, as we move on, it's not one of those things where I'm like, I thought he passed away like 12 years ago.
Right.
Like I liked his work a lot, and he was a guy I wish I knew more, just because of his character. He was something.
Right.
Well, anyway.
All right, and so before we get into the movie, you know that I don't have like a lot of news that's fantastically interesting, especially since it's the beginning of the year and no one cares about anything that's coming up.
Yeah.
The Olympics are on, and so far the Olympics have been awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna like shout out my daughter got to go to a hockey game.
That's awesome.
And it was Canada playing Switzerland in the early
That's very cool.
early games, and that was really cool. And I just watched last night was the gold medal game, Canada and the U.S.
Yep.
And that was like a crazy game.
It's wild.
And I really feel like, you know, hooray USA or, you know, whatever, because they end up winning. But I really feel like Canada got robbed in that game. They were like crushing them like forever.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And I mean, they were so dominating them, it seemed like, for the whole game.
Right.
And then they the U.S. scores to tie it up with 2 minutes left, and then they win the overtime. And I'm like,
come on.
That was ugly. But anyway, the Olympics just in general have been very cool.
I love the petition to give the wolf dog his own medal. Have you seen the dog that runs the ski course and nobody can catch him, and he does it in a really good time.
Bonkers.
He does it in a really good time. I think it's from the Lord of the Rings. I think his name is Nazgul. And they just are like, there's a petition online now to give that dog a medal, and I'm all over it. I know it suggests, like, you know, the medal might not be worth much if we give it to a dog. Give that dog a medal.
Yeah.
Like, that was one of the best parts of
that was a cool video.
That was great.
And there's been lots of actually really great stuff on the Olympics.
Yeah,
so if you have the chance to still catch any of that, a lot of it's been just crazy stuff happening. It's been awesome stuff happening.
Yeah.
You know, the skater guy that they wouldn't stop talking about for a month straight ends up 8th.
Right.
I mean, the whole everything. And I do have to say this. I mean, I got to say some things, because I do this with the Summer Olympics too, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't need a lot of backlash about this. And, you know, kudos to all of the athletes, and they're tremendous people, and they're the greatest thing that ever happened. This mountaineering thing is not a sport.
No.
That
You're not in? You're not in?
That is the
Come on.
most bonkers
What
thing
about it? What
I
about
have
it? Do you
ever seen.
What specifically do you disagree with?
It's just
No, I get it.
it's just nuts. It's like a acid fever dream.
Yeah.
I made this up.
Yeah.
Now go do
Right.
it, and it's a sport.
Right.
What? You're
Yeah.
like going uphill, you're climbing upstairs.
It's like the famous bit about
It's-
golf by Robin
It's
Williams.
utterly bonkers thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. And you know, I mean, my take, not that we need to talk about this, my take is that if people only do a thing because it's an Olympic sport,
Right.
and otherwise no one would ever do it,
Right.
that's not a sport.
That's not a thing.
That's
Yeah.
not a thing. And I don't mean like because this is new, so obviously people weren't doing it just because
Right,
it's an Olympic
right,
sport because
right.
it wasn't,
Right.
but they were only doing it like in hopes that it would be, and they
Right.
have their thing, but nobody just does this, right? It's like
I don't think so.
nobody just goes up the mountain and hey, look, there's some stairs here,
Right.
and I have to go up the
Now I
stairs.
got to do those.
now.
Yeah.
It's just so bonkers.
That
I
committee
don't know,
that
man.
decides, let's see if we can make this happen.
It's just
Like I want to be on that.
yeah, and then you have like this is the same thing with the Summer Olympics. They've got all these things, and I'm not going to go into it, but they have all these things that I think are like goofy non-sports,
Yeah.
and yet they don't have like
Right.
lacrosse
Right.
or
Right.
things that
People
people
have been
actually
playing.
do.
People have been
right?
doing
I mean,
for a long time. Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough babbling about that. Okay, jumping into the movie, I guess, if we have nothing else. Sentimental Value. So we talked about this in our last episode. It's Joachim Trier, who did several things. He's done several other movies, but the main thing is The Worst Person in the World,
Yep.
which was my number one pick
My
that
number one
year.
pick, too. That's 2021.
And it's and that movie also starred Renate Reinsve.
I can't do it right. Yeah. I'll
Yeah,
follow how you say it.
I
I
don't
wish
know.
I knew how to say it perfect. I can't.
It's not that hard, I think, but I
know, I think
can't
I'm
get
overdoing
right
it.
Either. I've heard her say her name.
Reinsve is probably it.
Reinsve.
Reinsve. No, that's it.
It's like something.
Renate Reinsve.
And Stellan Skarsgard, Elle Fanning's in it.
Yep.
And so, I don't know. There's not too much to explain exactly. It's this one family. The dad left a long time ago, and the daughters feel various levels of abandoned and whatever. And now, we're back, and hilarity ensues
Yep.
because we all have to deal with our feelings
And baggage and
whatnot. Yeah.
unresolved issues and
and all the baggage we have,
Yeah.
and in I would say sometimes new viewpoints coming to this. I would say than like your standard movie. In some sense, this is a movie that has been made more or less many times. Like the bullet points of this movie have been other movies, and just dealing with family and dealing with especially like the particular emotions and problems that arise from the fact that you had like an absent parent who is now wanting
Returned.
to be in your life, or and then especially in this movie where you've got kind of like one sibling is more interested, one sibling is less interested. Kind of the key, I guess, happening in this movie is that dad is a director, and directed lots of movies and left his family to direct a lot of movies, and he's like a big deal. He's not like oh yeah, I'm an actor, or whatever. Like he's like a big deal director. But now he's like kind of old and whatever. So he's got this one more movie he wants to make. And he wants his daughter to star in it. And she says, go to hell, basically. And then Elle Fanning comes in because she's a big movie star. And she's going to do it now. And then, like, just really hilarity ensues trying to figure out. She can't figure out the character and yada, yada. And it's like this weird semi-autobiographical movie that, he wrote the script and has all this. And anyway, and hilarity ensues, like I said. It's all craziness. So I guess just to jump out, because I keep saying that we're going to do this.
What's that?
And we never do. Like,
That's okay.
just give our ratings.
Yeah, we lead in and then we give them, but yeah.
So I gave this 10, which I think I already said, even last week when we were doing the thing. And without going into a whole spiel like right now, because we're just trying to get our ratings out, I would say the main thing, if I had to like narrow that down to like a real quick thing, the main reason that I give this a 10 is that from start to finish throughout the movie, every character in every scene said things that I believe that that character would say.
Yeah.
And that is like such a different world from most screenplays, even of movies that I think are really good.
Yeah.
There will still be like some parts where you might go, eh, and like, you know, we've got the character that you just, you know, as the movie or the story or whatever starts out, there's like the character where the story just goes, this is who this is.
Right.
I mean, because they have to, right? And
Right.
they go, just believe me that this is who this is.
Right.
And you go, okay, that's who that is. And then they do something later and you go, but wait, you said this person was
Right.
this.
Yeah.
And then other things happen. And then, you know, the later thing, you go, well, you said it was this, and they did this.
Yeah.
And now you want me to believe that they do this?
Right.
And it's like, you know, it just gets
Bull.
harder and
Yeah,
harder.
no way.
And you're just
Right.
like, eh. And
Yeah.
this movie, like, even the things that still, like, surprised me.
Yeah.
You know, like, there are parts, especially with Stellan Skarsgård as the dad, that I'm like, oh, well, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy would still do this.
That.
Right.
Like, even when some of it, like, kind of throws you a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, I gave it a 10, so.
There's a moment, speaking about that, there's a moment, there are only two that come to mind where I thought, I don't know that that character would do that. They're very early in the film, and it stands out in my mind only because I also feel the same way. I think for the most part, I mean, the vast majority, if not almost the totality of the film, everybody does that. I think they're all exactly who they're supposed to be. And it's not trying to find fault with it, but there's like this moment. So Gustav is the director. He gets into a fight with his wife, leaves them to live in this house that's his family's, goes off and does things. He's estranged. The mother passes away. The children are grown. They haven't seen their father. He returns to settle the affairs and also maybe rekindle, but he's got this project, like you said. There's all kinds of things all at once, just sort of being handled. And that weight feels good because that's real. That's life. Sometimes you have to do 8 different things, and you've also got to buy groceries and pay bills. And it's just stuff. Forget to walk the dog, you know, all these things. There's a scene where he comes up from the basement, and he has to be doing something, but he just comes up with stereo speakers. And I thought, and this is early in the film, and I thought, I don't know that that guy would be that, not selfish or that removed, but that fixated on just getting some of his things out. And it's not that later on he doesn't show to be that guy. He's not like grabbing pencils or dishes or anything. I just thought it was such a weird way to tell who his character was early, but they earn that later, for sure. Right. The same with Nora, which is the daughter who has the most difficulty with her. We watched the first, I don't know, 13 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of the film where she's getting ready to perform. She's an actress. Right. She has a massive encounter of stage fright. I mean, the stuff that is nightmarish for the crew, the cast, for the person. She just realizes she can't go on, and she's trying to run away. The people are bringing her back.
Like she's literally,
she's literally running, and it's not a comedy. It's effective in how tense it makes that scene feel. There's a moment, and it doesn't give anything away, but there's a moment where she encounters someone familiar, and she's like, slap me. Like, and I thought, it's sort of cheesy and cliche. Again, it's the first scene of the film, but later it plays out, and it does show that that's actually who this character is. Like, that's a reset that you don't see them do again, but it makes sense as it goes on. Right. I wanted, because I love The Worst Person in the World, it was my number 1 film that year too. I think I surprised you with it because I couldn't believe how much like this it's are real people doing real things. It's a real environment. It sort of feels not like the Beyond Sunrise sort of aspect of films that I like when we do get those.
Right.
But in that aspect, I totally believe all of these are real characters, and we're just looking at them for a bit. I couldn't quite get to 10. I still think it's a 9 easily. I struggled if it wasn't a 9.5, but I hit on 9 with very few problems with it. But the thing that keeps 9 from 10 for me is not perfection. It's just there's a hesitancy I feel, which I think keeps it from 10. Some films, when we watch them, and I'm like, I don't even care if that had a problem. Like
Right.
everything is
Right.
everything on this, like 97% of everything in this film is firing in every direction it needs to. But there's some little bit here and some little bit there, and as we talk more about it, sometimes the scenes are too fragmented. I get it. Like it isn't a 24-hour thing when he comes home, and it's not like they're rushing to fill in all the time in real time. But sometimes there are some brief gaps there that I just thought that scene ends too soon, or there's too much of a difference between then and now. It sounds nitpicky. It really isn't. I admire the hell out of this film, especially for how subtle it is.
Right.
It just didn't have that push for me, though.
I think that
last grasp.
I think that one of the big differences between this movie and The Worst Person in the World is that this movie is, while thinking they're both great, this movie is after like subtlety,
Yeah.
in a way that the Worst Person in the World is not delivering characters in subtle ways.
All the time. Yeah.
And it feels, when you're watching that movie, it feels more on.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
this movie does not like
Doesn't
go
have to.
here.
Right. It does not have,
it's
because
like it's going for
Yeah.
very subtle things. And I think one of the other best things it does conversations really well.
Yeah.
You believe the characters' actions and statements. But the thing that I think ups for me also just the level of difficulty of this is that the end that it's going for
Yeah.
is actually like a very little thing to hit you fairly hard.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like, here's this giant payoff.
Right.
Right. It's like
Right.
the payoff it's going for is like this very small, subtle,
Yeah.
still kind of a resolution of everything.
Yep.
But it's just this little thing. It's not like,
Yeah.
and now,
Right.
kaboom,
No.
right? Like
Nope.
it's this big thing. But also, because of that, if it doesn't work and it doesn't
Yeah.
truly earn it kind of and get you to that ending, it would just seem stupid. It would fall so flat
Yeah.
as an ending if it didn't build up all the stuff in the right way.
Yeah.
But all of the stuff is just very small and subtle because the end it's
Right.
trying to get to is not, like we didn't change the world.
Nobody's nobody's discovering the cure. Nobody's
Right,
beating the
right.
aliens. What you have is you have two people who, I might be misreading this too. Maybe that's why I'm at 9. Two people who happen to be father and daughter, but in this instance are director and star, resolving a scene that is of importance to both of them for very different reasons, and yet it overlaps perfectly that they understand one another and where they're coming from. They have a shared moment of reckoning, and that moment lingers and also sustains themselves and brings them closer. Like it does
Right.
15 different things all at once. And I think, and I'm not trying to be clever in any way, I'm holding it to a standard that may not be fair in La La Land. La La Land, when Ryan Gosling sees Emma Stone at the end and says what he has to say and looks at her, and there's a moment where they're transferring everything between them. That's the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's the best moment in the beginning, middle, or end of a film that tries to do what that film, what La La Land tried to do, has ever done, in my opinion. This is an immediate second, but it doesn't work as well as I wanted it to. And it works almost exactly the way it needs to. and I know I'm speaking sort of vaguely here because I don't want to ruin the literal ending for people, and I'm not going to, but I can't tell if it needed 2 or 3 more seconds or 2 or 3 less seconds between one of them, but somewhere in that transfer, and I think it's just overall, because Nora looking at Gustav is powerful. Him realizing he sees her and she sees him is powerful. There's just, and it doesn't get, they don't make dumb movie mistakes. Like there isn't a Adele song that comes in over it. Like they don't ruin it. They don't step on it. In fact, and that circles back, because I know I want to hear more about what you thought about that, but it circles back to something you just said, which is the characters are saying everything that they need to say. I'll be damned if Nora's sister, Agnes, who in some way is overlooked a bit in this movie, isn't saying the most of everybody in all of her silence.
Yeah.
She says more by looking at her sister when, and she doesn't have to mug a reaction. She's not pantomiming anything. She's reacting as actors are supposed to. She's listening and reacting. And the looks she gives her sister tell me everything. She doesn't have to say a thing. I know when she's mad, happy, disappointed,
and real, like how real
all of them are
people
real.
Yeah.
She does it with her dad. She's talking more to her dad, but she does it with her dad. She does it with her son. Like in some way, the power of the focus of the film is on Gustav and Nora, but the real backbone and power here is all the stuff that isn't said in the silence that isn't being said, and she's got the loudest megaphone for it. I watch her and I'm like, holy shit, give her tons of awards, because what she's doing the degree of difficulty on is astronomical, even though it looks like all she has to do is on the page, Agnes looks disappointed.
Right.
And you're like, that's easy. I look disappointed every day.
And you get
bullshit. It's hard.
You get so much.
Did you feel like?
Yeah, you get so much out of her where, you have Nora, doing X in a scene or whatever, where Nora we're trying to get information about Nora.
Yeah.
But you get the information about Nora by her sister.
Right.
Acting the way she does, responding the way she does. You know who Nora is because her sister has lived her whole life with her and has these responses and these reactions and stuff like that. And, to a lesser extent, the same with her dad, but she doesn't. She more has, I think she serves to like flesh out Nora in a lot of scenes by doing that.
Yeah.
And in the same scenes, in the same way, she's being the same with her dad, but in that case what she's doing is still more kind of giving you the perspective of the daughters to their dad in a way that Nora won't do. Because Nora just goes, I'm out. I don't want to be involved. You don't get it from her.
When she comes to visit her sister, when they're just sort of clearing out the house early in the film, and her sister Agnes says, Dad's coming, and she's like, when? She goes, I don't know, now, anytime now. And when he shows up and she runs, which is sort of a throwback to her running away in the first scene of the film in some ways. Like you see Nora when she's stressed or when she doesn't want to be somewhere, she just runs. And I'm cracking up. This scene is perfect. Perfect. It's not because she timed or practiced almost falling or she almost fell in the scene, but this is how someone who doesn't want to encounter somebody leaves a house out the back door carrying a vase, trying not to break anything. Just perfect. And one thing after another is, can you put one, you don't have to, the enemy of trying to be perfect is just screwing everything up, but it certainly felt to me that the vast majority of time, one perfect scene is on top of another perfect scene to showcase what these characters are struggling with, getting them towards maybe a denouement, maybe a resolution, maybe not, because not every family gets to solve their stuff. But I believed it.
Yeah.
And I believed them. And that's not easy to do with characters who could be pastiche or caricatures or just things. You're right when you said in the beginning, we've seen this story, estranged parent, kids who are regretful and resentful.
Right.
Throw them into a room. Let's see who's figuring things out. Oh, that's an Oscar movie? Of course it is. Now load the big music in. Does all of that perfectly.
Right.
Like, it's just weird.
And it's like with the end, the end, I think, as I said, it's kind of like a subtle kind of thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that's the best about the movie, I think, is, like you were talking about the silence that it has, but there's a lot of things that it just doesn't ever say.
Yeah.
That are still like some of its biggest things.
Yeah.
And I think they come together in the end too, because like she's there at all.
Right.
And they are, doing this, and she's having to face up to certain things because of what the script is.
Yeah.
And what's happening. But, what the movie never says, especially because it's not as direct in a lot of things, is, like one of the main reasons that she's so pissed at her dad is because she runs away from everything.
Right.
But the movie never talks about that.
No.
It just has her do it.
Right.
And then feel bad about doing it, and then hate her dad.
Right. Right.
And then be mad at her dad. Right. And it's like, she's mad because he left, but she's also mad because that made her do this all the time. And in the end, she's there.
Right.
And her struggle with the fact that she's there at all is not articulated directly, and all of the stuff that you had to have in the beginning parts of the movie in order for that to work and mean anything. Really,
I think it clearly, and like you said, this is stuff that they do in read-throughs or behind the scenes, or just, I don't think I'm doing that much of the heavy lifting. I think it frustrates Nora that her father left her. She didn't get a chance to leave him, and she doesn't, she's disempowered. She's sort of neutered in that way, and it bugs her. It makes her mad. That's why any chance she gets, whether they're going out to dinner and he's trying to get her hooked onto this script, and she's like, no, I'm leaving.
Right.
I'm leaving, this time. And he just has this look of like, all right, I don't know how to fix that, but I'll try the other daughter, and there are things and there are times later, I mean, midway into the film, you know all the stakes, what's going on, pretty much everything that's happening 35 minutes into the film. But midway through, I was pretty sure, I'm like, I don't know how he's going to get her to read that script.
Right.
I really don't.
Right.
Because right now, there isn't enough on Golden Pond reparation here between father and daughter to facilitate this. And I don't know he knows a magic word, like your mother would have done that, or, I left because of this, you thought it was why. Like, I'm trying to figure out how he's going to get to do it. And I didn't see how she gets to read the script coming until it hit. And then I went, right. Genius. Perfect.
Right.
Absolutely perfect. And again, elevates what is not overly complicated. It's just sort of not quite keep it simple, stupid, but just don't overcomplicate it when you don't need to.
Right.
Let the story go. It's
weird enough. And also the, kind of funny thing about the whole movie in some sense is that, it understands that it's, I mean, as much as this is the most important thing in the world to some people who are experiencing it or whatever, but it's also trivial. And like the movie's okay with that. And it also, gives you things like, obviously when she's running away at the end or at the beginning, when she's like running away from, performing, nobody's that surprised. This is not new for her. Right.
Right. Here we go again.
Maybe this is worse than sometimes or whatever, but this is not like a new thing. Like they're all talking about getting her on the stage. And then after she finally does it, and then it's like after the show, like everything's just normal and nobody talks about it. And it's not like a thing because this is not like if this was the first time that ever happened.
Oh yeah.
Right after the show, there would be some discussion
some talk.
Of her, bolting.
Yeah.
But nobody is like, hey, we need to have. There's other shows to do. What happens tomorrow? They know because
This
this
is what
is
happened.
what she does, right?
Yeah.
And her sister not saying anything about things. There are a couple of different scenes in the movie where, like I said, the movie never says that she's mad because she runs away from everything,
Right.
because she basically like gets these sort of panic attack like state that
Yep.
she runs away from everything. But there are a couple of scenes where basically she and her sister address that,
Yeah.
but without ever talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's not what they're talking about.
Yep.
But, her sister's got a look to give her.
Right. Yeah.
And, she will say something and then her sister's like,
Yeah. Right. She's like,
you
don't give me that look. I know that
like
look.
they're still working with that stuff.
Yeah.
But like, again, as people would in a real way, right? You don't have real people where here's the problem that you have and you've had for a long time. Now dad comes home, so you're faced with it and everything. And then all of a sudden, like, life turns into an after school special where people start spouting, their soliloquy on why you are the way you are. That's not how people act, right? They do this.
Right.
And maybe they get through it by the end of the movie, and maybe they don't.
And maybe they don't, because that nothing in life is guaranteed to work out, and sometimes the hardest things to realize or learn or watch in a story with characters you care about is that isn't how it always plays.
Right.
I love how subtle and easy but consistently both the story and Stellan like perform this, where he's really only got one love language, and it's movies.
Right.
It's storytelling, I guess. And he's like, I mean, the subtle jokes of like giving your 4-year-old grandson like classic films in black and white. Like, I mean, like, and the kid opens it, he's like, what? I don't even know what these are. And he's like, they're movies.
Right.
We're going to love them, because they started to bond over filmmaking, and he's lighting up and communicating with his grandson, he's never seen, presumably, before.
Right.
And when they're with Agnes or when they're without, like, they're making iFilms, and he has a direct connection to him through what he can communicate, his love and fears and what have you. And then you see him fumbling with Nora and fumbling with Agnes and telling her that you should have kept going, because she was a child actor.
Right,
And he wants her son to be in his film, and she turns back at him and says, the most piercing thing, which is, I never knew who you were. I always tried to make you happy as a director, and where were you as my dad, and on and on and on. And you just realize that this guy who's blessed with so much without knowing his wife at all, but knowing their daughters as a result of their mother, this guy had all kinds of things, but he just had no way to share them and communicate them, especially to the people that he wanted to communicate with the most.
Right.
And then maybe as the film proceeds, maybe there's a way that they finally talk to each other.
Right.
And that might be effective or chilling or depressing, however you're coming at this. And I think that's also an incredible degree of difficulty, to have somebody get to the end of the film and be like, that made me feel better. Someone be like, that made me feel worse.
Right.
I could see that.
Right.
I could see how someone would reach all kinds of different conclusions getting there.
And we don't have a lot of time left, but we haven't even really talked about Elle Fanning in the movie.
I meant to, right? Yeah.
Which that part of the film is, I think, mostly very strong. I think, in a way, not the best parts of the movie when she's in it, but also, very exploratory, where it's like, it is actually a part the movie needs to do, whether it works out great or not.
Yeah.
Because she comes in to be in this movie, she is a big fan of his, and is like, oh my God, if I could be in one of your movies. And
Right.
they happen to meet, whatever.
Yeah.
He's been rejected by his daughter, she's not going to be in the movie. And they end up meeting, whatever, and he is, like I said, he's a big deal director. He's
Right.
like a serious guy. she's this huge star now actress, and she is like, oh my God, if I could be in one of your movies.
Yeah.
Then they like start down that road, basically. They're
Yeah.
like, they're doing readings, they're doing all this stuff, and time goes on and further, and we get inch closer and closer to the fact that you actually have to be this person to be in this movie and be this character. And like, she doesn't understand the character. She doesn't know why this. And I think there are a couple scenes that are really great where she is maybe, not the smartest person that ever lived.
Right.
And she kind of can't get what's wrong for like a while.
Yeah.
And ultimately she kind of like gets what's wrong, even if she doesn't completely understand what it is. She's like, yeah, but I mean, I just get that it's wrong.
Right. I
Kind
can't
of thing.
do this. Yeah.
And it's a really weird statement about all of them, about the script that he wrote.
Yeah.
On and on and on. Lots of stuff that this connects to in the rest of the film, but also just about like, acting in general, right? Because, you can't be this person because, nobody writes this character. Right. And so you've never had to. Like, this character is like utterly boring and real.
Right.
Nobody makes movies about that character. So what experience
and
have you had trying to be
And I'm so used to going over the top, not that I'm an over the top actor, but I can't find who this person is because they're so real. They're fake to me. Like,
and their motivation for doing this versus that. I mean, then they kill themselves and whatever. And it's like, and there are like some really, I think, funny in a way, although they're not funny, but they're kind of funny. Like, scenes where she's trying to get into this character and she's like, but why does she kill herself? Like, I can't get like the understanding and motivation of this person. Like, but why does this person kill themselves here? Like, I mean, it's such a weird thing to include in your movie, but it's also like just wildly kind of telling in who this person is and why they can't
in that world,
why they can't understand this character, right?
I love that Stellan never blows his top. He's never like, she just does. He never gets in there. I love that he's just stoic and he's like, why do you think she does this? And she's like, because he's worked with enough actresses, whether they're vapid or grounded. It's interesting, and again, she's 25 minutes of the film, maybe a little longer. I thought she was great. She's brought in to be everything you said. Rachel, her character, finally, where she's just like, you got to give your daughter. Like, I mean, when you're telling me, I love when he's like, let's try the scene again, no accents, let's just do it fresh, and she's just sort of like deflated, and she's just had to dye her hair because that's what the character's hair color is, but she can't not notice that it's also his daughter's hair color. Thinking back to like just the small ripple effect of things, which is, as a director in the film, he's not Steven Spielberg caliber, but he is, as you've said a few times now, he's an absolute named director. People know and they want to work him. They admire him. When they're at this thing and Rachel says that they would be honored if he came to eat with them, if he says no because he's just like, I'm busy, I'm a director, I got to do these things, forget the movie, obviously, but if you believe the movie reflects what's happening in their lives, if they were really alive, his whole life is different. He doesn't get to, because she's the fulcrum, she's the cudgel that gets him to go to his daughter again. And that's how everything gets better. But that like 10-minute scene where he goes to dinner and he's clearly just present, might have a bread, might have a water, but then they're on the beach and he's like connecting with her in a way he can't with his own daughter because she speaks his language. And his daughter, Nora, is an actress. Agnes was an actress. Like, you'd think everything is there. He just can't do it. And when the carriage is there and they're riding off and he's so alive and everything is working and you're like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, these are characters that have fully realized lives.
Right.
And they're living when the camera isn't on them and when I'm not watching them and beyond the page. That's fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's a lot of hard work.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know, that's pretty good for wrapping it up, probably.
I think people should be watching this.
It's one of the movies. First of all, it's at least really close to the best movie of the year for me.
Yeah.
It's at least in the top few.
Sure.
I'm not going to spoil our list.
10 is
right now,
10 is a high. I don't know what goes over 10, but
But the thing that kind of struck me about this movie was people talking about, this is like a while ago now, but people talking about the Critics' Choice nominations and then the Golden Globe nominations and, the Oscars or whatever. But way back when it was the Critics' Choice nominations and they had 11.
right.
And there was this, Jay Kelly,
Yep.
and to a little bit lesser extent, Begonia,
Yeah.
that people were like, what the hell's that movie? Like,
Right.
like they get nominated for Best Picture, nobody even knows what they are.
Yeah.
And Jay Kelly's even, like George Clooney's in it, and still people are like, what's this movie? How'd it get nominated? And,
Right.
And for this movie to get nominated at all is really awesome.
Yep.
But just so few people, by comparison to everything else that is nominated, it just really hit me, like how few people had heard of this and nobody cares and no one's going to go see it. And there's always some of those movies that, oh, sure, it's nominated, but I don't care because look at that goofy whatever.
Right. Right.
And this is one I think people should check out. And if you do happen to check it out, then go see The Worst Person in the World. Find a way to see that.
I was just going to ask you that. I was like, if you were trying to turn somebody on to a Lanthimos film, there's a different avenue to get them to where you want them to eventually be. But I was literally going to ask you which one of these two you thought might be better. I actually still think maybe The Worst Person in the World is the better to start with.
I think that could be.
Maybe.
That's a good introduction. It's kind of like, like you're saying with Lanthimos. You can't just pick at random.
I mean, I guess you could,
first
but who
one you ever
knows?
see, right?
Yeah.
And the weird thing there is I still, we're so off topic and this is meaningless, but I still have a serious place in my heart for Dogtooth.
Yeah.
I may not still think it's his best,
Right, yeah, but it
or
was
whatever.
when you saw
but
it.
it's such a strong movie. But you can't just go start with this to people.
No,
right?
and I was just looking real quick, not to be on my phone. I was trying to find off IMDb. I didn't have the Mandela effect. Right, Stellan's actual son plays young Gustav in the film for 3 minutes or something. There's a young Skarsgard in there, and I'm like, what a great glorious piece of acting to just be like, we need a younger you.
Right.
What's your son doing?
Right.
Would he come by? And you're like, I'll give him a call. Let's just see. It's just, there's so many fun flourishes. And like you said, this is a kind of film that is so subtle that unless it starts nabbing some big awards from places or somehow catches fire Shawshank style somewhere, I think it's easy to overlook this. And then I think when people say, hey, did you ever see Sentimental Value? Did you watch the Meyerowitz tapes? Did you, there are things out there that people look over for the new Jurassic World film or whatever. That's a mistake. This is a hell of a good time. And that's coming from guys who don't love movies that run 2 hours and 15 minutes all the time. I could have taken more.
Yeah.
It was really great.
Yeah.
It's something.
All right. So definitely check that out.
Yeah.
We will be back next week with, I think, we're just going to start our lists.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
So,
right.
It's that time.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You love it. And send us your lists if you want.
Yeah. So next week will be our best of the year.
Yeah. Here we go.
And Get ready for
And
that.
here we go. Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, and like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, and we'll see you next week.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.